Welcome to the Happy Home Birth Podcast, your source for positive natural childbirth stories and your community of support, education, and encouragement in all things home birth and motherhood. Have you ever been so certain about a decision that even when everyone around you questions it, you knew deeply down that it was the right path for you? Hey there, happy home birthers, and welcome to episode 333 of the Happy Home Birth Podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin Fusco, and my friends, today's conversation is a fascinating look at conviction, trust, and what it means to take full responsibility for your birth experience. Today, I'm speaking with Gabby Lacey, a wife, mother, welder-turned-farmer, and soon-to-be mother of three living in the mountains of North Carolina. Gabby shares the stories of her first two free births, both of which unfolded in unique and memorable ways. I've got her Instagram linked in the show notes, so be sure to check out what they're creating in Boone. But for now, let's jump into this story. Please remember that the opinions of my guests may not necessarily reflect my own and vice versa. And this show is not medical advice, it's an educational tool. So continue to take empowered responsibility for your health and your family. Gabby, thank you so much for coming on the Happy Home Birth Podcast.
Thanks. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to have you. And your setup right now, for those who are not watching and are just listening, is so beautiful. You're in this sweet outdoor space, and it's going to be so fun to hear these little birds chirping. It's going to be very calming in the background. So cute.
Yeah, I'm super excited because we actually just bought this place in January. Well, I think we bought it in December and moved in January 1st. So we've only been here for a
Oh,
little while and we're getting to see everything turn green and bloom. And I'm so excited.
wow. Well, would you mind taking just a moment to introduce yourself and your family to the listeners? And you can tell us about this beautiful location where you are.
Yeah, so my name is Gabby Lacey, and my husband and I have two children, Llewellyn and Sterling, both of whom I free birthed at home. Not our homes, but at home. And then we recently moved to Boone for my husband's job, and Boone, North Carolina. So it's very, very beautiful up in the mountains. And we ended up getting a 16-acre farm that has a huge greenhouse on it. And it had like glamping site retreat on it and like this cute little outhouse with a shower. And it already had mature blueberry bushes. So we're putting in like a whole berry patch.
Mm. Oh my goodness. I'm not too far from you because I'm in upstate South Carolina. So I'll just make myself a little trip over to Boone, come
You
see you in
should.
person.
You should.
It's
It's
so
beautiful.
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 Wow. Oh my goodness. Well, I am so excited to hear your stories today. I love a good free birth story. And the fact that you had your first that way, it's always so fascinating to me when moms just walk in with that confidence and that sense of, I was made to do this and I'm going to do it, and this is how.
Hmm.
So, could you start us kind of from there? You have this philosophy of birth. Did you always feel like birth was a super safe thing and this was the way that you were going to do it? Or how did you come to the conclusion to give birth by yourself with your first baby?
So, no, I did not grow up just thinking that birth was a very safe thing. I'm the oldest of seven children.
Okay.
My mom had all of her births in the hospital. She really wanted to do a home birth, I think, with the last two, but it just didn't work out for whatever reason. And I was also only 11 when the last one was born. So, as far as like her birthing choices, I just grew up around birth. Every,
Mhm.
you know, year and a half, 2 years, my mom was having another baby. And then her last one, baby number 8, she did have another one, but something ended up happening in utero
Mm.
and they ran tests and couldn't figure it out. So, no, I grew up knowing that birth was not always safe, no matter
Mm.
where, what your options were. But there were women in our community who did have births at home. So I did grow up knowing that that was an option. And then when I was 21, I found the Free Birth Society podcast. And, it was just all of these women telling their stories about how they had had their first births in the hospital and it went horrible. And so then they chose to just do it on their own or do it with a midwife. And all of these stories were just so powerful. Women
Mhm.
telling their experiences. And then, it turned into, oh, well, I just had it at home. My first one, I just had it at home. And
Mhm.
so I listened to these stories. My husband thought I was crazy because we were not married. We would not be married for 6 more years. And so I was just binging these podcasts. And then after I got done with that podcast, it was another one and then another one. And, there's many of them out there now. So I just got to hear story after story. And it
Mhm.
really set me up for what I really, really wanted. I mean, I had years to think about this.
Mhm.
And so I had practiced fertility awareness method until my husband and I were married. And
Okay.
then we got married and I was pregnant 3 months later. And I just
Wow.
told him that I'm so serious. Like, this is not an option. This is what is going to happen. And he was 100% supportive,
Mhm.
100% on board. I think he just knew that I had been invested for years at this point, and
Right.
like my mind was so made up.
Mhm. Yeah, this was not just a whim decision. This was something
Mm.
that you had marinated on for so much time. You had inundated yourself with the stories of others. That makes sense that it's like, okay, well, this is what Gabby's doing. All right.
Yep. I don't remember exactly how old I was, but I got to go to two births of my best friend at the time, and she had both of hers in the hospital.
Okay.
It was not a good time.
Yeah.
It was not fun. We were there for days. Both of them were induced labors, lots of Pitocin. Like, it was not fun. And I know at that time that I had already been listening to the podcast. So I must have been 22 or 23 because I remember calling my husband like boyfriend at the time and being like, I don't know why I'm here. This is awful. I never want to do this. All the
Mm.
things that they're doing is horrible.
Wow. Yep. Yeah. Gosh. And yeah, because you have this other perspective of what birth can be like. So to have that perspective and then to go into a situation where you're seeing it unfold so differently, that's got to be very
Yes.
jarring.
Yes, it was, but it
Wow.
really solidified, like, it really confirmed,
Yeah.
I'm not doing
Yeah.
any of this.
I won't be doing that. Thanks.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you guys get married 3 months later. You're pregnant with your first. What
Mhm.
was that pregnancy like for you?
So it was super easy. It was super great.
Mm.
I am very grateful that I have really smooth pregnancies. This is my 3rd, and it has just been so smooth,
Mm.
not without common pregnancy things. Like, I generally have about 2 weeks of morning sickness
Mhm.
where I'm just nauseous all day. But it hasn't gone past like 2 weeks with
Gosh.
any of my pregnancies. And then
Mhm.
I just always have been extremely active. So with my first one, I was actually a welder. So it was outside manual labor all the time. And I worked all the way up until Thanksgiving, and she was born December 4th.
Oh,
So that's like,
wow. It's a couple days.
yeah. And then the same one with my son, I was actually teaching welding at a community college, and I worked up until like a week before he was due.
Wow.
So, like, I felt good. I
Mhm.
felt good enough to continue doing what I love to do. And that's just how it happened. And then
Mm.
now I am working full time trying to get this farm up and started and,
Oh my
you
goodness,
know,
yes.
doing all the things that the land prep needs and all of that. So we're not slowing down.
No, you are just in it to win it. You're just gonna keep
Yes.
going. That's
Yes.
incredible. Wow, that's so beautiful. So, with your decision to have a free birth with your first, what did it look like in your pregnancy? Like, what kind of care did you receive, or did you receive care? Let us know what that was like.
So I took a pregnancy test,
Mhm.
and then that was pretty much it.
Love it.
I didn't really have anything else. And I also already knew, I told the lady I was working with, I said, I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant. And she was like, we're going to get a test right now. I said, well, I'm pretty sure I've been pregnant for like a minute. But really, it wasn't. I was only 5 weeks along. And that's another thing about like doing this fertility awareness method. You find out
Mhm,
so early. And then you
mhm.
feel like you are pregnant for forever.
Yes.
But so the only other thing that I did is I think I was around 20 weeks and I called two midwives in the area. One was in they're both actually in Charlotte. But through the Free Birth Society, I purchased the course that you can do.
Mhm,
And so I just went through that whole course and I felt very prepared and I was very confident. Another thing, though, is that my husband and I are believers and we just believe that Yahweh designed women's bodies, that this is how they function, and you're designed to give birth. And when women are undisturbed and able to give birth naturally, you don't run into many complications. So
mhm,
you just have to trust your body, trust Yahweh, trust that this is what you're made to do, and trust your baby. Like the mother
mhm.
baby dynamic is working together. They're two things coming together as one. So, with all that being said, I called this lady and I was like, hey, here's what's going on. I'm not really sure I want anybody, but I've never done this before. So I'm just calling. And the first one that I called, she had too many stipulations for me. Like, okay, I need to do a cervical check. I will transfer you if you go past this many days. Here are my reasons for transferring. And like, it was all immediate no.
Yeah.
The second lady that I called had actually done their free birth guide to midwifery or something along those lines. I could be getting that
Mhm.
wrong, but the course that they have for
Right.
midwives. And so I really, really liked her a lot. And we were talking, and we probably spent 45 minutes on the phone. And she ends up saying, so why do you want me again? And I was like, well, because I'm like, this is my first time doing this. And I think that I need somebody there. And she goes, you don't need anybody. Why do you think
Mm,
you need somebody? And I was like,
mm.
okay. She said, you're very confident in this choice. You're very confident in your decision. So she was like, she said, not that I wouldn't love to be hired, not that I wouldn't love to attend your birth, but like, you don't need this. I
Mm,
said, okay. Well, my family lives in Charleston, South Carolina. And so I would make trips to visit them and have to go through Charlotte. And so this
mhm,
lady's name is Caitlin. And I asked her one time, I was like, do you mind if I stop by your house on the way and do like a prenatal care visit just so you can feel baby and teach me how to listen to the heartbeat? And if we have any questions, these sort of things. She was like, yeah, sure, come on by. So it ended up being me and my husband and his parents, because they don't live far from Charlotte either. And my mother in law was so supportive through the whole thing. She would sit there with me and listen to the courses when, like, my husband and I would go visit for the weekend. She'd be like, Gabby, let's watch one of your videos. And I was like,
oh
okay.
my word.
She listened to all the podcasts with me and she was like, this makes so much sense.
Wow. I love her.
It was great.
Like,
It was really
what?
great. Because a lot of my other family thought I was crazy, thought
Mhm,
I was, you know, this is not the safest option for you. One of my sisters had already had a baby.
mhm.
So, it was just very different choice.
You're dangerous.
My dad even called me one time and he was like, can we just talk about this for a minute? It's not that I don't trust you, but like, can you just tell me some things? And I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, what do you want to know? They're like, Dad, you had 7. You were there. What do
Right?
you need to know?
Mhm.
And so, yeah, it was really great. And so then my mother-in-law being there, my mother-in-law and father-in-law asked questions while we were there. And we're like, okay, well, what about this? And what do they need to look
Mhm.
out for this? And I think my biggest fear during that pregnancy was tearing, because who
Mm.
doesn't not want to tear?
Right.
And hemorrhaging, because I feel like that's something that's so pushed, is
Mhm.
that,
Yeah.
oh, you can hemorrhage.
Mhm.
But the way that she explained it is that a young, healthy female has a lot of blood to lose. Like, you can lose a lot of blood and be fine. That made me feel so much better. And she was like explaining to my husband, here's what you look for, and here's what too much blood would be. And if it's just slow trickles after labor or during labor, it's fine. If it's like a faucet, and it's like steady flowing and will not stop. That's different. And I
Right.
feel like that just made us feel so much more confident and so much better.
Wow. Yeah, just having that understanding of like, this is what we're looking for. This would be the difference. If this happens, then
Yes.
seek
Yes.
medical care, whatever, do the things. Oh, that is so interesting. So that was around 20 weeks?
Yes, that was around 20 weeks. And then I think I saw her, I think it was my second pregnancy because, oh, yeah, because I had my daughter already. Because we just kept in touch throughout
Mhm.
the past few years. And I was coming through Charlotte again, and I said, "Hey," she already knew I was pregnant with my second. And this was like maybe a month before I was supposed to give birth. And I said, "Could you just check baby's position? Like, I just need to know. I need to be taught how to check baby's position." And
Mhm.
so she taught me that. And it's just like so nice to have that. It's so nice to have somebody
Yeah.
that you can call on and be like, "Hey,
Mhm.
I just need to know."
Mhm. Yeah, just to bounce an idea off of even.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. Wow.
Yep.
Okay, so you have this quick little prenatal sort of visit at 20
hmm
weeks. What was the rest of the pregnancy like?
The rest of the pregnancy was really, really smooth. I will say, just like you, I love hearing on all of your episodes, you're like, consult your chiropractor
Yeah.
because through each one of the pregnancies, I had never seen a chiropractor before, but it just made so much sense after hearing other women say that it aligns everything and it helps make labor easier and it helps baby come out smoother. And I said, okay. So from the first pregnancy on, I've done monthly chiropractor visits until we get closer. And
Mhm.
then I squish them together more.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, everything was great. I was not pregnant during the hottest months, so I was just like, after work, I would go be poolside for a while.
Mm.
I will say my husband and I have been living out of a camper for the past 6 years.
Okay.
And so we were at campgrounds throughout my pregnancy. And that was a whole nother thing, but it was just our lifestyle at the time. But that led to the decision of I do not want to have this baby in a camper, and I do not want to
Gotcha.
have my neighbor, less than 10 feet away from me if I'm trying to have birth in a camper.
Fair. That's valid.
Yeah. So that was the main decision in we ended up renting an Airbnb for our
Okay.
birth.
Awesome. So how did that work in terms of did you rent it like before you knew you were in labor or did you wait until you were in labor to find a place? What was that like?
So it was definitely a gamble on things. And another thing is I knew we weren't going to stay in South Carolina. We were living in Charleston at the time.
Okay.
And then we would go up to his parents to make visits, I don't know, once a month or so. And we knew that we wanted to move back to the mountains. We're both from the mountains area and had gone to South Carolina for work. And because my whole family had moved down there. And so I rented the Airbnb back in Wilkes County, which is 5.5 hours from Charleston.
Oh my.
I know. I think that definitely added to the layer of everybody thinking I was crazy because they're like, "You did what? Where? How are you supposed to get there?"
Mhm.
But in my head, the plan was that Thanksgiving, I would have a break from work and my husband would too. And we would go to his family's for Thanksgiving. And then I would stay
Mhm.
because I had calculated my daughter to be due on December 2nd, which is actually my birthday.
Oh, wow.
I know, it was super sweet. So I rented the Airbnb for the whole month of December.
Okay, that makes it easier.
Because I also had planned on a few different things. One, being a first time mom, I planned to go a few weeks extra. I planned to
Mhm.
be pregnant for a long time. Also, I did not want to have to move after having the baby for at least 2 weeks.
Amen.
So that way I could have peace, have rest,
Mhm.
have all these things. I also rented a house big enough. I think the house had like 4 bedrooms because I wanted my family to be able to come up and visit and to stay the night
Mhm.
and to not have
Yeah.
to worry about getting their own space.
Mm.
And it was absolutely beautiful. But the thing about Airbnb is that it doesn't always show you like the exact location.
Okay, yeah.
So I rented this space and it was really beautiful. And I knew that it was only a short drive from my mother in law's house. And she had always planned to be there at the birth. She was just going to be like prepping meals or
Mhm.
helping support my husband or, whatever. She had always said, I just want to be in the other room praying. I don't want to be involved. I'll just be in the other room praying. And I'm like, okay. That was her first grandkid. And so she was very excited. And when I was driving, so my husband left after Thanksgiving. He went back to our camper in Charleston. And I packed up what I needed and went to the house. Well, as I'm driving to the house, it ends up being like this dirt road, not state maintained, switchbacks going up this mountain. And it ends up being the very last house at the top of the mountain.
Oh.
So I get to the top of this mountain and you can see all the way to Charlotte, which is an hour, 20-minute drive from where we're at.
Oh my goodness.
And it was like beautiful views, like panoramic views from this house. And I was like praying on my way up there. And I just thought, oh man, okay, Lord, like we're doing this. And I'm putting all of my trust in you because the only way I'm getting off this mountain is with a helicopter.
Wow.
So it just is. And but I really like that because it really solidified everything that I had been working towards, I felt like.
Yeah.
So I didn't see it as like a fearful thing at all. It was just very here we're going to
This
put
is what
our
it is.
yep, we're going to put our faith exactly where we have said it's been this whole time,
Wow.
and it was just amazing.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so you had Thanksgiving with your in-laws, and then was it like the day after Thanksgiving that you go to this new place, or was it a few days?
I think it was like maybe 2
Okay.
2 days later.
Okay.
And so the way that things happened is that I moved into the Airbnb on the first,
Mhm.
on my own because
Okay.
I don't remember what my in-laws were doing, but they were like,
Mhm.
"We'll come up and visit you for your birthday." I said, "Okay, not a big deal." It was literally the next day.
Mhm.
And then they ended up not being able to come up until the 3rd. And
Okay.
so I was there and I was just like settling in.
Mhm.
And I have done many trips on my own. So, like, staying in a place by myself was not really that big of a deal. And then also, I felt like this baby was not anywhere close to coming. Like, I felt like we had weeks to go. Nothing had changed. Nothing felt different. I will say though, before we left for Thanksgiving, I felt like I had lost part of my mucus plug. And I
Okay.
remember sending a picture to my sister and being like, is this what we think this is? So, no big signs except for that had happened.
Mhm.
And I get into this house and there was like big, big winds, lots of like thunderous activity. And so we actually ended up losing power. Well, then the power didn't come back on because turns out somebody was working on a house down the road and had cut the power line to the house. And so now I didn't have power. Well, then the power ends up coming. This is like a whole thing. So the power ends up coming back on, and then I didn't have any water.
What day is this?
This is on the 2nd. This is on my birthday.
Okay. This is on your birthday.
And I also was feeling just so tired and not even really frustrated, just like didn't want to have to deal with this. This is not
Mhm.
what I signed up to deal with. But there was a groundskeeper for the house who lived down the road, and he would come and like he was trying to show me what I could do. I could like flip the switch and fill up a pump to make the water. Anyways, all this stuff. And I don't even think he knew that I was pregnant actually, cuz like it was winter time and had on like big
Layers.
sweatshirts and whatever. Yeah, I remember on my birthday just sleeping for most of the day
Mhm.
because I was there by myself and I didn't feel badly. I just was exhausted. And so
Mhm.
I just slept. And then on the 3rd, my in laws were like, we're going to come up and we're going to bring you dinner. And I was like, okay, well, bring some water because I don't know what we're doing here. And so then, like, the guy took my father in law and was like showing him the problem with the water and all this stuff. Well, my in laws also were supposed to be bringing the birth pool, which the birth pool, I'd heard this is probably like one of my favorite parts is I had heard so many stories about women having a birth pool that needed to be set up and they're in labor and either it doesn't get set up in time and then they have the baby or they have to do all the attachments or they don't have enough hot water in there and it ends up not feeling good or they're in there for too long and you have to regulate the hot water. And I was like, I'm going to bypass all of that. And so I got one of those blow up hot tubs.
Okay.
And the blow up hot tub, you can regulate the temperature. So it stays a consistent heat.
All right.
And I was like, done.
I'm
sold.
a genius.
Yeah, figured this out. And then I just ordered like a normal birth pool liner for the thing. And I was like so excited. I was so prepared. So my father-in-law and I were setting it up and I was like showing him what goes where. And I had gotten it off of Facebook Marketplace and I'd cleaned it really well. My sister and I like scrubbed it down with Clorox and like did all the things to make it super, super clean. And so when we went to go and put all the attachments together, my father-in-law and I, we accidentally broke it.
No.
Yeah. Yep. But it didn't really matter because at this point we still didn't have water. And I was like, okay. And he said, well, maybe I can look up the pieces and go and figure out how to fix it. And I'll come back tomorrow and fix it for you. So then later that evening, we have dinner. And I think the water had gotten fixed and then went off again. Something was definitely wrong with the water in that house. And so after dinner, I remember standing up and my mother-in-law was like, what's going on? I said, nothing. I just feel very crampy. And she goes, okay, well, let me know when it ends. And I was like, it's not ending. It's just like a long period cramp is what it feels like. And she was like, okay, well, let me know when the next one comes. And I was like, Jennifer, I'm not going into labor right now. That's not what this is. And she just like didn't really say much after that. Well, then shortly after that, they ended up leaving. And she said, I think I'm going to go pack a bag and I'll be back in about an hour and I will come stay with you for the night. And I was still like, no, don't feel like you need to do that. It's fine. You can stay at your own house. I'll call you if anything changes.
How far was she?
Well, so that's the problem is that it takes about 15 minutes to get up. They live on the top of a mountain. And so it takes about 15 minutes to get up their mountain. And then this mountain, it probably took you about 20 minutes. And then it's like a 10-minute drive between the two. So it was about 40 minutes, I think, in all. So they leave. And as they're leaving, because of the switchback, I can literally see the taillights of their car leaving. And so during this time, all of a sudden, I start to feel a trickle. And I'm like, well, I know I'm not peeing right now. So what is this trickle that's happening? And I ended up calling Caitlin. No, I think I called my husband first and was just talking to him about my day in general. And he ends up getting frustrated that I broke the hot tub or that me and his dad broke the hot tub. And he was like, what do you mean you broke it? And I think he was feeling frustrated because he was so far away. I also didn't tell him like what was going on because I didn't know what was going on. And so I ended up getting frustrated at him. And basically I was like, I can't talk to you right now. And I hung up the phone very frustrated.
This is perfect.
Yeah.
So perfect.
I end up like the leaking is not stopping because like as I'm on the phone with him, my pants are getting more and more wet. And this is like not fun. And so I end up calling Caitlin and I'm like, hey, I just need to know what's going on right now. Do you think that this is my waters? And she said, collect some in a cup and send me a picture and I'll be able to tell you. So that's what I did. And she said, yeah, that's definitely your waters. How do you feel? And I was like, I mean, I feel crampy, but I wouldn't say that these are contractions, but I've never had contractions. And she said, go call your husband and tell him to start driving. Because once again, he's 5.5 hours away. And so I called him and I called my sister and I told both of them that it was time to start driving. But I was like, you have plenty of time. Like, first babies take a long time. I'm prepared to do this until, you know, like 18 hours. I'm prepared to do this. And that had just been my thought process after hearing so many stories. And so I remember getting off the phone with them. And by the time my mother in law got back, which I think was roughly maybe an hour and a half, I was already completely naked. Like, she walked in and I was completely naked on my hands and knees. And I had like laid out blankets that I found in the bedroom
Wow. So that escalated quickly.
really quickly. And I was like, when she came in and she was like, oh, oh. And I was like, yeah. And then she would like ask me questions. It was like one word, thanks, was all I was saying. And so she had brought 5 gallons of water, and she just like laid down and observed me for a while, or like sat in the corner and observed me. And I had just told her, I don't want to know about my contractions. I don't want to know what time it is. I really just would like to be left alone and not really talked to. Because I also felt extremely nauseous. And when I'm nauseous, the more that you talk to me, the more I feel like throwing up. So I was not wanting to know anything about my labor because I didn't really want it to be, oh, you've been in this for 6 hours, and not feel like anything had changed. And she was very respectful. And then come to find out, like, she and my husband had been talking, and he said, Mom, Gabby has a playlist picked out, and Gabby has candles that she wants lit. And so she started doing the things to make my birth vision come to true, I guess.
Oh.
However, I wanted none of those things.
Oh no.
And I was like, as soon as she turned the music on, I was like, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. I don't want it. Or like lighting candles and just things like that. And then there was this chair. I was like laboring over this chair for a long time. Most of my labor I spent on my knees, leaning over something. And so she put a towel or a sheet over this chair because it was like a printed chair. And she said, all I can think about is the painting that I saw on the wall in the hospital. I don't want you to just think about this chair. I was like, okay. So it ended up that I moved. She had been heating up water and putting it in the bathtub. And so I moved in there, but I remember the water only coming up like just to my hips, just covering my hips. And things definitely felt like intense, but I never felt this point of like transition of, oh my gosh, I can't do it, or anything like that. But then I had gotten out of the bath, and I remember like there being this really long pause where nothing was happening, and she and I were just having a conversation. And I ended up telling her, I don't think Hayden's going to make it. And she said, no, 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 don't say that. He's going to make it. It's going to be fine. And I was like, no, I don't think he's going to make it. And it was like, as soon as I let that go, it was okay. It was almost like mentally, which is so funny because I had been reading Ina May's Guide to Childbirth, and half of the book is talking about your mental state and how much that matters in birth. And if there are things that are preventing you from birthing, then it's literally because of what's going on in your mind. And so, yeah, it was not long after that. I don't know how long, but it was not long after I told her that things really picked up and things really got intense. And at one point, I just remember saying, I just want to sit on the toilet. And I didn't even feel like I had to poop. I just wanted to sit on the toilet. And she like put a towel between me and the toilet because she didn't want the baby to go into the toilet, I guess. And so, yeah, very shortly after that, it ends up that she is like holding me, stabilizing me, holding me up. And I ended up pushing my daughter's head out. And then it was so thankfully Jennifer set up a camera on the sink. And so I have a whole video of what this looks like. And so when we went back and replayed the video, the baby's head comes out, and then it's an 8-minute just pause before the rest of the body comes out. And I think that that would have really made me nervous, except for the fact that I had literally just that morning, I loved watching birthing videos while I was pregnant. And just that morning, I had seen a video of this woman and she gave birth. I think it was like in a hotel room, looked like a hotel room. And the baby's head came out and it was a very long time. And her midwife was like, "It's okay. Everything's
Mm.
good. The baby's fine." And it was a very long video of this woman and she like walked from the sink to the bed. And I feel like if I had not seen that video, I would not have felt like that was okay.
Yeah.
But I never once got panicky. My mother-in-law never got panicky.
Mm.
She just trusted that I knew what was going on. And so I just started praying and talking to my baby. And I was saying, "Baby, you're not done yet.
Mhm.
You're still working on getting here. You can pause if you need to pause, but like we've got to finish this."
Mhm.
And then I was just praying, "Yahweh, please help my body to finish this. Please help us to be safe. Please give us what we need." Yeah, and then I think it was like 2 contractions later, there was like a practice contraction is what I called it, and then a real contraction that got her out,
Mm.
and everything was good. Everything was
Wow.
perfect, everything was good. My mother-in-law left to get a warm towel from the dryer to
Mhm.
wrap me up in, and before she even got back, I had gotten, like, up onto my knees, and because I was in the floor at this point. So I had gotten up onto my knees and just slightly tugged on the cord and pushed, and the placenta came right out. So that was a matter of minutes.
Beautiful.
And
Wow.
my husband came about 15 minutes later.
Oh my goodness. I was wondering the timing of all of this.
He completely missed it. Yeah.
Mm. Just
Yep.
barely.
But it's okay. Just barely. And then we waited until the next morning. So we all went to bed because at this point it's like early, early hours of the morning on the 4th.
Mhm.
My whole labor ended up being 6 hours
Wow.
from the time I felt those contractions after dinner until the baby was born was about 6 hours.
Gosh.
And then we weighed her the next morning, and I am like usually 104 pounds, 5'1", very petite, and she was 8 pounds 7 ounces. And I was like, I even told my husband, I said, "I think that scale is broken. I don't think that scale is right. You should do that again." And he did it again, and he's like, "No, babe." Because I was always told that I was a 6 pound 7 ounce baby. And I was like, ain't no way that I just birthed that.
Wow. Okay. So, couple questions. Going back to you birth the head and then you have this pause and then you said you had like a practice contraction is what you call it. What was that like? Like was your body pushing during that practice contraction or was it like shorter or like what was that one like?
It was definitely shorter and
Mhm.
it felt more, instead of like all of my other contractions had been like full belly contractions.
Mhm.
And during this time that there was this big pause, I could like feel, so her head was out and I could hear gurgling noises like she was starting to breathe, but she was kicking inside of me, which honestly I think is the most disgusting thing I've ever felt. Not gonna lie, that is not magical. And this practice contraction was like all up here. It was like it was
Mm.
a top uterus
Mhm.
bearing down
Mhm.
almost,
Mhm.
but not like a pushing contraction.
Gotcha. Okay. So it wasn't like you were actively you weren't super trying to push right then. And then when you
No.
had the next one, then you did have an urge to push.
Yes, and it was much bigger. Like it
Yeah.
felt like a much bigger wave or sensation.
Wow.
And so that one I just pushed along with it and yeah,
Mhm.
it was much easier.
And she came right out. Like you didn't
Mhm.
feel like, oh, she got stuck there or anything. It was like, no, she came out
No.
just completely normally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was
Wow.
great.
Oh my goodness. Oh my word. Okay. I don't know how we're going to top that. Like that was what a
I
cool
know.
experience. Okay. And
I
what
know.
year was this? Like when was this?
2022 is when she was born.
2022. Okay.
Mhm.
2022 is when you have your first birth. And
Yes.
then you have that month, and it was like, I guess, a full month at that point because you had just moved into the Airbnb.
Mhm.
You had a month available in the Airbnb.
Well, yeah, so I had actually lined it up. Me and my mother-in-law, she has a freeze dryer, and we had done freezer meals and freeze dry meals for an entire month. So
Okay.
after baby was born, I would not have to cook for an entire month. And then I
Nice.
have so many siblings that I was able to line it up that somebody, because Hayden had to go, we didn't have any type of leave. He would just have to take off 1 week to be with
Mhm.
me and baby and then go back to work. And so I had it lined up to where one of my siblings would come and stay with me for the next 3 weeks.
Wow. Beautiful.
And like one of them was my brother. And I think he
Mhm.
was only 20 ish
Mhm.
at the time. And maybe he was 21, but he like just came and stayed with me and took care of me. And I just really hope I'm imprinting onto him, like tell your wife she has a choice one day.
How sweet is that? How beautiful. Oh my goodness.
And so, yeah, that was super nourishing, super
Mhm.
helpful to have help and to have all of our meals prepared.
Yeah.
But the Airbnb kept having problems, kept
Mhm.
having water come on and off, kept having things happen. So we ended up moving out. I think it was right at the 2 week mark after she was born. It didn't stay there the rest of the time.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's her birth.
Wow. Okay, so that was 2022,
Mhm.
and then and December 2022. Okay, so then let's hear about this second experience. When did you become pregnant again?
So I got pregnant in July of 24,
Okay.
which actually was much later. Like my husband and I wanted them a lot closer together.
Okay.
So it was later, but we had moved up to North Carolina at the time and we were living in my in law's backyard and we were starting to look for our own house. And I think things, we just weren't really sure about what we were doing. We were actually
Mhm.
applying to jobs out in Utah and Montana, and we didn't know what we were doing with our life.
Mhm.
But as soon as we started looking for houses in the area, I immediately got pregnant. And I feel like it
Wow.
was just like this, and again, just a mental thing.
Mhm.
His birth is much less dramatic, honestly. It's much more like you just wake up and it's on a Tuesday and you have a baby and you go on about your business.
Oh my goodness.
But because we were still in the camper, I didn't really know a good way to have a baby there with a birth pool set up type of situation. So I ended up meeting another woman and she had her first baby at home, which was the same age as my daughter. And then we were both pregnant at the same time, due like weeks apart with our seconds. And
Mhm.
she said, I have a whole apartment in the basement. You guys are more than welcome to rent it if you want and have the baby here. I was like, okay. So we had only known each other for like 4 months or so, but it was just so quick. The connection
Mhm.
was so quick. And I felt so comfortable just being there and having my birth
Mhm.
there. And so Hayden was there. We were not separated that time. Hayden was there and my daughter was there. But the first time that I did it, I had been very conditioned, I think, by the Free Birth Society about you don't need anybody else there. It can just be
Mhm.
you. Like a free birth is just you and your husband. But then the second time, I had actually created a community. I had started doing women's circles,
Mhm.
hosting women's circles, and found a community of women that I really loved. And
Mhm.
so one of them does photography, and I asked her to be there as a support person and a birth photographer.
Mhm.
And then I had the lady that I was in her basement for the month. And once again, we just like rented it for the whole month.
Mhm.
So baby number two, was supposed to come in early April. And I thought it was supposed to be like April 3rd.
Okay.
And then we moved into the place and we set the birth pool up, the hot tub. Once again, we fixed the hot tub
Nice.
and got to actually use it. And so we set it up outside. There was like this big cement padding, and we set it up outside with an awning over it.
Mm.
And I remember thinking like I had contractions all day long one day, and I was sure. I like told my husband, "Oh, we're having this baby tonight."
Mhm.
And then nothing happened. Like I went to bed that night and literally nothing happened for 7 days. I was like, "This
Wow.
is insane."
Mhm.
This was like going on April 9th, April 10th. I remember like just I was over it. I was done. My belly looked a lot different. It looked a lot bigger. I got way more stretch marks. My grandmother saw my belly, like literally the day before my baby was born and said, "Oh, Gabby, that is angry." And I was like,
Oh.
"I'm well aware. Thank you. I feel very uncomfortable."
Oh.
I was waking up every day, like more pissed off that I did
Mhm.
not have the baby yet. Also, with this pregnancy, I felt like the baby's head, like when I would stand up to walk, the baby's head was literally like grinding on my pubic bone.
Oof.
Cannot tell you how uncomfortable I was.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so everybody that I had talked to was like, "Oh, you need to be ready because baby number 2 comes in half the time baby number 1 does.
Mm.
So if your first one was 6 hours, you need to like be ready for 3."
Mm.
So I had gotten in my head this whole time, "Oh, this is going to happen so quick. Oh, this is going to
Mhm.
happen so fast." And so my sister, I remember calling her and I was like super pissed off one day. I was like, "This baby isn't here yet. Everything's making me mad. Blah, 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 blah." And she said, "You know, Gabby, I have in a text message when you first got pregnant that you said the due date wasn't actually until like the 12th, not the 3rd."
Ooh.
I was like,
Oh.
"What? Can you show me that, please?"
Hold on.
And so she showed me, and sure enough, I went back and like counted everything. But also, I think why I got confused, I don't count the 2 weeks from your last missed period
Okay.
because I hate giving the medical system anything,
I love it.
right? You get no credentials. I know my body.
Mhm.
I keep very good track of my body. I know the week that I conceived, and then I just added things up wrong.
Mhm. Sure, as one will sometimes.
So I think that, like, I had told my sister, whatever day I said, and then he came on the 13th. And so
Okay,
it was like within actually 2 days of the original day,
right.
which is just like, I'm so glad that she actually said something because, phew. So that night I went to bed. And at this point, I was like, okay, I guess this is just where we are. And this could go on another 2 weeks. And I just need to change my attitude and move on. Well, so that night I go to bed and I wake up around, I want to say it was 3 o'clock in the morning to contractions. And I was like, okay, great. And so the contractions keep going, and I moved out to the living room and just went in there by myself for a while. And this time I like downloaded an app. Well, same thing as with my daughter. I think the contractions were like one every 7 minutes when I first started the app. Within an hour, it was one every 2 minutes, lasting about a minute long.
Oof.
And so I said, okay. And the little app tells you it's time to head to the hospital.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
and so I said, okay, well, maybe I should go wake Hayden up. So I go in there and I wake him up. He's like, okay, let me wake up. Let me go to the bathroom, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, well, I'm going back to the living room. And it was not very comfortable to have to walk back to the living room. And as soon as I got there, I had like a birthing ball that I was bouncing on. And I leaned over the bouncing ball, like with my arms. And as soon as I did that, there was this audible pop on the
Oh.
inside, right? And
Mhm,
which hadn't happened because my daughter's waters just slowly trickled the whole time.
mhm.
This was like an audible pop and then just a gush of water that came out.
Wow.
Um, and I felt so much relief when
Mm.
that happened. There was so much pressure relief, but then things got real, real quick. And so I told my husband, I was like, we called my friend who was doing photos, and we called the friend who was sleeping upstairs above us and told both of them, like, could you come and just, it's time to come. And I said, I want to get in the hot tub like right now because I didn't get to use it the first time. And if this is going to be this quick, I've already done this for an hour. I want to get in.
Mhm.
And then I got in and things felt good, but it was like much, much harder than my daughter's. Much more
Oh.
intense, hurt a lot more. Things hurt a
Mm.
lot more. I think because I had my husband there and I had two other women there, I found myself very outsourcing things, like very whiny, to be honest.
Mm, mm,
I was very, Hannah, what should I do next? Like, what position should I get in?
mm,
And she was like, Gabby, you've already done this. You're doing great. Just do whatever your body needs to do. And then I would ask, like, when she didn't give me an answer that I wanted, I would ask Austin. I was like, should I do something different? What should I do? I don't know what to do. And Austin is like, you do know what to do, and your
mhm,
body knows what to do. You just have to submit and do it. But I don't know. Things just really, really hurt. And
mhm,
then my husband was being really supportive, and he had like peppermint oil for helping me not feel so nauseous. But when I would go into a contraction, I don't know if he couldn't tell or if he was just trying to be really supportive, that he would be like telling me, "Oh, you're doing a great job, babe. Just your body's doing, you're working, blah, blah, blah." And I'd just be like, "Shut up. Just shut
mhm.
up. Just stop talking to me." And so at some point that I was getting very frustrated because this felt like it had been going on for a long time, and the sun started to come up, and there was this bird that would not shut up either. And then the dog came outside, and then you could hear traffic on the road. And I said, I need to go inside. I need to go inside. And I was like, why is this taking so long? I expected this to be over by now, which is a huge mistake. Like,
Mhm,
baby number three, have zero expectations.
mhm, mhm,
And so, but I think it was about an hour, which now looking back on it, maybe that was my transition point,
mhm,
because it was about an hour after that, I think, that the baby was actually born. And for everybody else, it was like early April. So Hayden said that it was like 31 degrees outside, which is where majority of the labor happened. And I was in a hot tub feeling great, and everybody else was out there just freezing.
You're like, "What's wrong with everybody?"
Yeah, yeah. And so we went into this tiny bathroom, and I mean it was tiny. And the first bathroom that I gave birth in was tiny, like unusually small bathroom.
Mhm,
And I got in the shower for a little bit, which felt good. And then I remember being like, Gabby, if you can stand up for a few contractions, that's really going to help. But standing up felt miserable.
mm,
Our daughter then woke up, and Hayden had to go and tend to our daughter and then put her upstairs with our friend. And so that just left me and Hannah, the photographer, in the room together. And Hannah was very supportive. But at some point, I said, I just need to get on the toilet. And she goes, I mean, do what you need to do, but that doesn't sound good. And I said, yeah, but it's going to get this baby out. And I'm done. I'm done now.
mhm,
And so I got back on the toilet, and she went to get Hayden. She's like, I'm just going to go get Hayden.
mhm,
And so she went to get Hayden, and Hayden comes down and helps me. And then it's not long after that, but I was like determined. So this, I'm really not very proud of this part of my birth story, but I was pushing with all I had,
mhm,
even without contractions, because I was done. I was
mhm,
so done. So eventually the baby's head ends up coming out. And I then was like, okay, I need to be on the floor. I need to be on my hands and knees on the floor. And I did that. And a few more, oh, nothing was happening again, just like with my daughter's birth. And so it was probably another 6 minutes. And during this like time where nothing was happening, I was so impatient, and I started telling my husband, Hayden, I was like, just pull the baby out. I'm done. I'm done. Just pull the baby out. And he goes, I'm not going to do that.
I don't think it works that way.
No. But so I literally reached between like my baby's head to neck and myself and started like pushing, even though nothing was happening with my body, which is
Right,
ridiculous.
right.
And so my husband was like, okay, 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 Gabby, Gabby, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. He didn't do anything. He just needed my hands to move and not be there anymore.
Mhm, mhm,
And so finally, there was a contraction, and I did not wait on a second one this time. I
mhm,
just pushed as hard as I possibly could, and the baby came out.
mhm,
And then not long after that, again, it was like, I don't know, minutes afterwards, the placenta came out.
mhm.
But yeah, that one I was just so impatient and so done.
I mean, Gabby, you're saying it in this way of like, I wasn't proud of that. Like, you know, I don't know. Do you not feel like that was your own intuition? That was there. was potentially purpose behind that. And maybe that is what your body needed in that moment. At least it sounds like it's what your mind needed in that moment. And
Oh yeah.
sure, it's different. Sure, it's different from what you experienced the first time, but wow, I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely what I wanted in the
Mhm.
moment. And then, like, we have another video, another birth video of Sterling's birth, and Hayden. I think because I was getting so just not even anxious, and I was just impatient. I didn't
Mm,
think anything was wrong.
mhm.
Hayden just started praying. And so, like, we have
Oh,
this video, and Hayden is just praying over for peace and for things to go and for me to be able to calm down and trust my body. And it's just so,
mm.
so sweet and so nice.
That is really sweet.
But looking back on it, I think that my son ended up being 9 pounds, 12 ounces.
Boo. That is a big baby for a
That's
small
a,
lady.
that's a big baby. And I think that could contribute to things needing to take longer. But
Mm.
it was 5.5 hours. So, like, I really don't
Wow.
know what I was even complaining about in the moment.
It
I
felt
did not,
hard.
it felt
You're
really hard.
I mean, you were like, "It hurt more, it hurt more." Like, okay, well, that's maybe what a 9 pound, 12 ounce baby will do to somebody when they're very
Yeah.
petite. Like, that makes sense. It was a bigger baby than last time, and your first one
Yeah.
wasn't small. Like, wow, I bet that was very intense.
Yeah. And I just feel like with both births, if I had been in a hospital setting, they would have said, my hips are too small for these
Mhm,
babies. They would
mhm,
have said, your babies are measuring big. We're going to induce.
mhm.
They would have, there's no way that anybody would have let the heads come out and then there be 6 to 8 minutes between bodies coming out.
Yeah.
They don't do that. They don't
No,
let
you're
that
right.
happen.
You're right. You're
So,
right.
very grateful because once again, like, even with my son's birth, I don't feel like there was any shoulder dystocia. I don't feel
Mhm,
like there was anything. I feel like all of it was very normal,
mhm.
very normal. They just needed extra time.
Mhm, and he was the same way where he would perked right up right after being born?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was
Yeah,
great. Everything was
wow.
great. And then my daughter runs in because somebody, maybe Hannah, had gone to get her, and she just runs in and she's like, "Are you holding my baby? Where's my baby, mom? Where's my baby?" And I was like, "Listen here, little lady. I just did all this work. This is my baby."
This mine.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is too funny. Oh my goodness. Okay, so that that birth was when did you say it was? It was April
That one, yep, that one was April of 25. So he
to April
just turned
25.
1
Okay,
last
he
month.
just turned one. Oh my goodness, sweet baby. Oh,
I
wow.
know.
Okay, and then he has a sibling coming
Yes.
and that's gonna be what? That'll be like August, September?
Early September. Mhm.
September. Okay, September. Well, Gabby, I don't know how we're not gonna like we're gonna have to have you back on to hear how this third birth goes. Like we don't have a choice. We're
I know.
invested.
I hope it, like, my things that I've said is I want to release all the control. I really would
Yeah.
just want to be that lady who's in the birthing tub, not making a lot of noise,
Mm,
very quiet, very peaceful, and like her baby just slides right out,
mm.
you know?
Let's just let it slide right out.
That's my goals for baby number 3, and not to have any pressures put on it. Like, just
Yeah.
is what it is.
Mm, I love it. Wow. Well, these stories are so encouraging though. Like two different experiences, but so beautiful, intense, like in different ways. And what you did it. I mean, you
Yes.
showed exactly you put your money where your mouth was. Like
Yes.
you put your money where your faith was and gave birth in these beautiful ways. And yeah, you did it. It's incredible.
Yes. And I'm very proud of myself.
Yeah.
Quick pause cuz my phone is down to 3.
Oh, that's fine. Let's you want to just wrap up anyway? We're at a good
Yeah.
place to wrap up. Okay,
Okay.
awesome. Okay.
Okay.
Well, Gabby, this has been so incredible. What an honor I have loved hearing your stories. Thank you so much for coming on the Happy Home Birth podcast.
Thanks. I'm so excited to have found your podcast and to be able to come and share with a like minded individual who just believes that women's bodies are created to do this and made to do this. And like, that's all we just have to trust. We just have to be confident and trust that this is what we're made to do. And trust our babies, trusting our babies on their timing and everything. I'm a huge believer in just trust your baby.
I love it. Thank you, Gabby.
Thanks for having me.
What a fascinating conversation. As we move into this week's episode roundup, there are a few themes from Gabby's story that really stood out to me. First, I'm coming back to the power of preparation. Whether or not you'd give birth unattended, one thing is undeniable about Gabby's choices. She spent years thinking about birth before she ever became pregnant. She listened to stories, she studied, she asked questions, and spent time considering what she believed about birth and motherhood. Next, I loved hearing the difference between Gabby's first and second births. Her first birth felt very independent. It was just Gabby and her mother-in-law taking the situation as it came. In the end, they were the only ones who witnessed her daughter's entrance, with Gabby's husband Hayden arriving 15 minutes later. But by her second pregnancy, she'd built a community, one that she wanted to witness her birth. She talked about hosting women's circles, finding friendships with other mothers, and inviting support into her experience. How special that she's experienced the birthing process in two very different ways. And finally, the theme that stayed with me the most was trust. Trusting her body, trusting her baby, and trusting the physiological process of birth. There was that incredible moment during her first birth when her baby's head was born, and then everything just paused. And instead of panic, Gabby prayed. She spoke to her baby. She stayed present. And then eventually, labor resumed exactly as it needed to. What a reminder that fear is not the only option when something unexpected happens. And one more thing before we close, I loved Gabby's reflection at the very end of our conversation when she talked about trusting babies, not rushing them, not forcing timelines or assuming that we know better than they do. How beautifully does this translate into motherhood? Trusting that our children are participating in the journey with us. We're working together as we grow. Okay, my friends, that's all I've got for you for today. I'll see you back here next week. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Are you looking to extend the home birth support, encouragement, and education? Join us in our Facebook group, Happy Home Birth Podcast Community, and check us out on Instagram at Happy Home Birth Podcast.